This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good morning, everyone. It is 10:30, so let's get started. Holly, would you please call roll? And as a response, if everyone would identify the agency that they represent on the board or group as a form of introduction.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
It's a little faint, but if you talk at least that strong, we'll be okay.
Okay. Wendy Hess.
Present from Woodbury County, representing communication centers.
Travis Solom. Bridget Edson.
Present, Chickasaw County EMS, representing EMS.
Mindy Benson.
Present, Mindy Benson, representing Blackhawk County Emergency Management and Iowa Emergency Management Association.
Michelle Bishop.
Present, representing Iowa Professional Fire Chiefs, and I work for the City of Des Moines.
Curtis Wooten.
Present, representing volunteer fire departments.
David Ness.
Des Moines Police, Municipal Police.
Dan Schaefer.
Present, representing Municipal Police.
Dan Fang.
Present, Worth County Sheriff's Office, representing Sheriff's Offices.
Jeff Vanderwater. Rhonda Broaddus.
Rhonda Broaddus, Marshall County Communication Center, representing member at large.
Anna Voss.
Present, representing the Iowa Law Enforcement Academy.
Cindy Pike.
Present, representing the Iowa Health and Human Services.
Dan Brown.
Present, representing the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Michael Strausser. Keith Hogue.
Present, Iowa Department of Public Safety.
Patrick Updike.
Present, Iowa Department of Corrections.
Blake DeRucci.
Present, representing Iowa Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
Jessica Turba. And Travis just came into the room, so I've got him also. And we do have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time and appreciate Holly calling roll, so thank you so much. As for welcoming remarks, I have some fantastic news that I'd like to share with the board, and that is that we are a recipient of the Rural Emergency Medical Communication Demonstration grant, and that grant is approximately $2 million. The purpose of that grant is to improve the communication pathways between hospitals and ambulances. It is an ongoing work of the Operations Committee looking at legacy communication plans and getting them updated. This effort would be looking at replacing VMed 28 or augmenting is a better word, augmenting VMed 28 and the current CMed program within the EMS community. Those communication plans are from the Department of Health and Human Services, which is now, I'm sorry, that is their new name, Health and Human Services. And it's a continuation of the work that was done through the ORAP program in Carroll County, and now it's going to be expanded to Region 1. So looking at ways in which we can improve communications across the state in a very measured way to ensure that everyone's needs are being met. So a work group will be formed to support that grant, and as that work group is formed and we have a better lay of the land on that, that will come back to the board for your information. And we look forward to hearing ongoing reports through the SWIC regarding this grant, but just wanted to make everyone aware that we have received this grant, and it's very exciting for the state of Iowa. With that, I will entertain approval of today's agenda.
So moved.
Benson, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving today's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Same sign.
Who was second on that?
Benson.
Thank you. Motion carries. We'll now look at the minutes for the September 14th meeting and entertain a motion to approve those.
Motion by Broadus.
Second by Fank.
Are there any corrections to the minutes that need to be made? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the SWIC report. SWIC Nichols.
Hi, thank you very much, Chair Bischoff. So I will keep it short and sweet today since the grant has already been announced. I'm very excited about that. But other news, the application for the air-to-ground off-system channels has been submitted to the FCC through APCO. A payment of $200 was made to APCO for their work and help on that project, and I haven't heard anything back, but I will report as soon as those channels have been licensed. And then last week, the INTD was successfully held in Pottawatomie County with 14 students, all from the state of Iowa. I just want to thank, first of all, the 3 CISA instructors that came through, and definitely the Pottawatomie County law enforcement group for hosting us, especially Chief Tulin, Sergeant Lemaster, and Captain Arkfeld. They were very helpful and supportive through that course. Also, thanks to Sean Page for bringing the STR trailer down, and Luke for hauling it back away. We used all 25 of the cache radios for that class. And I just want to also thank all the departments and managers who allow employees to attend pretty much a whole week class. I know it's difficult with the staffing constraints that we have, but thanks to all of those students and agencies, we are growing our INTD community here in Iowa. And unless there's any questions, that'll end my report for today.
Great. Thank you, SWIC Nichols. Appreciate you calling in.
Thank
Are
you.
Are there any questions for SWIC Nichols? Thank you. 911 Council Report, Program Manager Darushi.
Thank you. Couple things for you today. As a department, we have been exploring the potential use of artificial intelligence. So I have had kind of a preliminary discussion with Comtech, who manages our Next Gen 911 core services, and they are piloting a project to help with administrative calls at PSAP. So if anyone is interested in participating in that, might be for staffing or various reasons, let me know and I can put you in touch with Comtech, and you guys can have just, again, a preliminary discussion. No one is tying anyone to anything at this point. So if you're interested in that particular topic, or you see it could be a benefit to you and your operations, just let me know. We are near ready to implement interstate transfers with the state of Missouri now. If you remember earlier in the year, we've done that with Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Illinois, and now we are looking towards Missouri. So that is transferring 911 calls between states over 911 trunks, so you continue to get callback number and location information. So again, that is coming next. If you're along one of those borders, the border of Missouri, we'll be reaching out to you. We're also ready for the next steps in the 911 to 988 transfer project. If you remember, we've had 3 PSTEPs participating in that pilot project. We did a survey a month or 2 ago to kind of gauge readiness and attitudes towards that particular topic. So we'll be looking to expand that capability throughout the state. I think, 2 more things. If you have been around a while, you know that most of the state is
Blake,
if
you
you,
dropped off for a few moments.
sorry, my truck is going haywire. You hear me now? Okay. So if you
Yes, we can
remember,
hear you.
most of the state has been capable of doing text to 911 for some time. We actually have one county that is really close, and then we will be 100% statewide. So Pottawatomie County should be text to 911 ready here in about 2 or 3 weeks, and then again we'll be statewide. Finally, we approved 2 training applications, crisis communication for Cerro Gordo County and an EMD class to be held here in Polk County. That concludes my report. I would take any questions.
Great. Thank you, Blake. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Are there any questions for Program Manager Darushi? Thank you. The User Group Committee, Chair Hess.
Good morning. The user group committee met on September 21st. Not a lot of items on the agenda. Just discuss the 2 applications that are later on the agenda for approval. So it was a pretty short meeting. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Wendy. Appreciate it. Are there any chairs or any questions for Chair Hess? That brings us to the Finance Committee and Chair Brown.
Thank you, Chair Bischoff. We looked at the finances. It was a very standard month. Expenses look pretty good. And with that, I will take any questions.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Are there any questions regarding our finances? Operations Committee and Chair Edson.
Thank you, Chair Bischoff. Operations met last week. Our agenda was rather short. We're excited to hear the news about the grant as well, as we've had the Carroll County ORAP in progress this whole time. We also talked about the National Weather Service joining Isicsb, and then there was a meeting that I wasn't able to attend, but it was about cross-border interoperable practices. Specifically, Minnesota was where we were talking with, and they're hoping to have an in-person meeting in the future. I don't know if Haley has anything else she'd want to add on that. Otherwise, my report is complete.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Bridget. I don't really have anything else, but there will be future meetings. We haven't planned any of those yet.
Great. Thank you, Swick Nichols. Appreciate the ad.
Michelle.
Are there any questions for operations, either Chair Edson or Swick Nichols?
Michelle, we skipped over the Governance Committee.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. The Governance Committee and Chair Ness.
I was happy to be skipped. As you recall, I sometimes did the same when I was chair. So.
Yep. Yep. I probably have a text message on a phone somewhere.
Anyway, the Governance Committee met on the 2nd, and we discussed some policies that are currently in process and the upcoming meeting where we'll focus on SCIP, but we have nothing for board consideration today.
Great. Thank you. And sorry for skipping you. Any questions for Chair Ness in governance? Training and Outreach Committee, Chair Solom.
We met on September 28th. It was pretty short. We did just briefly touch on the INTD class. Swick Nichols already discussed that. 14 people. The ComT course that's coming up the 23rd through the 27th at ILEA. And then again, that possible ComEx class in Story County, either late spring or early fall. That is yet to be determined. And then we discussed the policy review and updates before they're presented to the governance board. In particular, it relates to us, the status board, training technical staff, training Isicsb end users, and the training of radio communicators. My only question or concern with this, the one with training technical staff, I think that should be in conjunction with maybe technology. I'm not really sure. After reading that policy, it's a little more in depth that I think needs some outside help when it comes to that training. And that's all I've got.
So Travis, are you seeking input from technology? Have you passed it technology? I guess, are you looking for advice, or are you just reporting that you're going to pass that on to technology? I'm sorry, I just want to make sure your needs are met. If there was a question in there, I want to be sure you get an answer.
Well, I just expressed my concern as it relates to that specific policy, and teaching and training that technical staff might be a little something outside of our scope because of how technical it is. And it may not be something at least I would feel comfortable with. There might be somebody else on the training and outreach that might feel a little more comfortable, but it's a little more in depth than just the basics of the Isicsb platform that I would not feel comfortable giving advice or teaching solely to a technical staff.
Sure. If that's something that you need assistance outside of your committee, feel free to reach out to the technology committee and Chair Updike to send it to them for review, and or work through the SWIC, ensuring that we have an appropriate facilitator for that class. But thank you for raising the concern. Are there any questions for training and outreach? Was there a question? That brings us to technology and Chair Updike.
Thank you. Technology met on the 28th of September and the 3rd of October, and you pretty much gave the technology report for me, but I'll go ahead and give it anyway. So we met on the 28th with our neighbors from Minnesota about the cross-border interoperability subject. So, as was stated, there will be additional meetings regarding that. So that's a pretty short report. It was just preliminary information gathering from those people, at least for me, so I could try to understand what it is that they're doing and want to do. And then on the 3rd of October, we discussed the policy review and updates and made our suggestions to Swick Nichols as to what we thought that draft policy should look like. And so I'm sure she'll be working on that and bringing that information back later. That's it for this month.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Are there any questions for technology and Chair Updike? FirstNet Broadband Committee, Chair Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will keep this brief, as everyone else has. The FirstNet Broadband Committee met with everyone on Tuesday this week. We did not have any actionable items, and hopefully our FirstNet partners are here and will provide more briefing on the AT&T half a little later in the meeting.
Great. Thank you, Mindy. Appreciate it. Any questions for the FirstNet Broadband Committee and Chair Benson? Other reports, information sharing amongst board members. Are there any members that have information to share with other board members? I have 2 items that I'd like to share, just to keep everyone up to date. The board, the state review of boards and commissions and the restructuring, that report is out, and our board has been slated or is being recommended to be resized from our current 19 to 7. I've had numerous conversations with committee chairs and am gathering information about ideas, cares, and concerns regarding how we will be restructured, and would happy to take any further information from others. Gathering all of this information to be able to put forth a recommendation so that the legislators have recommendations from the board itself as to how we think restructuring could look, and important considerations from the board in the makeup of what our board looks like to be functional. So if you have any feedback on what a future board might look like, I would be happy to hear that. You can either email it to me or call me, whatever's most comfortable for you. I guess at this point we could, if anyone has comments that they'd like to share with the group, happy to hear them as well.
Michelle, this is Dave. I had previously think we had participated in a conversation with maybe you and perhaps some others, but can we characterize that there is some at least level of reservation about going to 7? We find value. I mean, some of the early comments I've heard and expressed, I find value in having a diverse board representing various professions and people from numerous local, city, county, and state, etc. So I think my impression was we were trying to make a case that it's still, and without considerable additional expense, we are a efficient and well-functioning board, even though we have many more than 7. I'm not trying to paraphrase, but those are my thoughts, and I'm curious to hear if that's kind of consistent with what you're hearing from others.
Yes, it is. I guess happy to share the comments that I've received from others. Things that are important to those that have shared is that that the board be representative of the different disciplines that are present. So law, fire, EMS, communication centers, emergency managers, as well as state agencies, that all of that representation be diverse. As it is today, that be maintained, as well as the mix of state and local, whether that's a municipality, a county, or an agency, that mix is important, and that because we are a working board, that there be enough leaders to lead committees, to provide that leadership and oversight and continuity amongst the committees. That's also a theme that's resonated. There's also some concern about workload, that this is other duties as assigned to most of our jobs. So that has to also be a consideration. So those are some themes that have come out at this point. Questions or comments?
I concur.
And I see Representative Wilburn has turned on his camera. Representative, would you like to share some comments?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, sir.
I concur with everything that was just shared. In particular, the workload and being able to have multiple perspectives and to not eat even more into people's personal time. I think that alone, in particular, to the critical nature of interoperable committee and the importance that I mean, this is a statewide service and critical function. This is basic infrastructure, and the more thoughts and ideas. So, Chair, I'd be glad once you get input from folks, but I also invite folks, if you want to send something to me, please do so, and I will try and, as best I can, help. Knowing that we're in the minority, do my best to reach out across the aisle to try and get some pushback from some of my Republican colleagues that I know at least tilt their hat towards emergency services, et cetera, et cetera.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate your efforts.
You bet.
Are there any other comments to share on that topic? The other item I had to share is in regards to the FCC work group working through the eligibility. That group continues to meet, and we are still in a fact-finding mode of gathering all of the information to be able to put forth a request for a variance or a waiver to ensure that we are complying with the various eligibility requirements from the various pools that make up the Isicsb system. So there's some housekeeping that we just need to take care of there. But that's moving along fairly steadily. Once we get to the point where we have the request ready and put together, that will come back to the board, and you'll be made aware that has been either to be submitted or has been submitted, depending on timing. Oh, I see there's been some comments in the chat. Okay. We're good. Are there any other information sharing items? Hearing none, we'll move to the Isicsb System Administrator Report. Scott Richardson or Connie Stuffelbeam, are either of you available?
This is Scott Richardson. Thank you, Chair Bischoff.
Fantastic.
I want to let everybody know, I want to let everybody know there's a tower crew on site this morning at the Hardin site for tower top amplifier repairs. So that site is offline this morning. We expect that to be back on a little bit later today. Other than that, Isicsb maintenance, we have 3 microwave dish covers that have been replaced recently at the Sioux site, and we're currently awaiting parts for 6 other sites to have dish covers replaced. And our 2023 annual RF maintenance continues with 23 sites scheduled for the period from now to the end of October, with more to follow on that. And I've got Isicsb numbers, new numbers for September of 23. Our radios stand at 34,166. Talk groups are at 3,152. And we've had just over 2.8 million push-to-talks last month, which equals a little over 4,000 hours of talk time for September. And that was all I had for the report for this month.
Great. Thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate it. Are there any questions for Scott regarding his report? FirstNet Authority, Tom Lampy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. First of all, congratulations on your grant. That's really awesome. I'll try to get that taken care of to get it and how grants go, but that's amazing. You can use that money for the EMS side. As of today, we still do not have a governor's meet date yet. There's been some scheduling conflicts. Just as soon as I get that, I will let you know. I know you've labeled some representatives that you would like to attend, and I've got those, and I'll let you know immediately, Michelle, when that date's established.
Thank you.
Nebraska FPU, which is what I've learned that the federal government's got a lot of acronyms, and one of them is the FPU, First Net Progress Update. So if you're reminded, that's what that is. That went well. We actually met with the Lieutenant Governor, did a presentation on the state of Nebraska, and we mentioned Iowa quite a bit and Nebraska during that meeting. And the reason we did was because, like I've said before, Iowa and Nebraska are one of the most dramatic, or two of the most dramatic coverage um, perspective, as far as perspective of build out in the country. So you should be very proud of when we all got together and did that state consultation. We were very specific. That coverage was very important to us, and AT&T provided that and stuck a ton of money into Iowa and Nebraska. It was the same way. So you should be very fortunate that you have the Rolls Royce of both. You've got the Isicsb network now at the radio side, and now you also have the FirstNet side well covered. In fact, if Tyler's on, he'll update you on a new site that they just put up. We'll be taking a study. I'm going to grab somebody from all 4 states, so one per state, to talk about how do we address coverage as we continue during the next 20 years. We have a 20-year contract with AT&T. First 5 years of the build out. Now, like I said before, we're in that fill in the holes process and asking public safety what they need in the next 20 years or the next 5 or the next short term versus long term. How do we fill those gaps if there is any? And one of those ways to do that is with HPUE devices. There's more and more coming out on the market as we speak to grab those signals in the fringe areas. So I'm going to form a working group in the 4 states to study and test if the HPUE would be a solution on and HPUEs are high power devices. And just as a reminder, FirstNet's the only one that allows that on band 14 to use high power devices on a cellular network. You cannot do that on any other network. But the FCC has allowed us to do that on the FirstNet because we have our own band, and that's band 14. So the study would be, will an HPUE device fill in for some of the rural first responders enough to get them the coverage they need in their area they work? And that's one solution. So we're going to study that and possibly roll that into a program, and it hasn't been approved. It's just started here, but it does have some legs. Today we provide a Cell Booster Pro, which is basically it's a satellite, or not a satellite. It's a dish you put on inside. You get internet to it, and it grabs the FirstNet signal and broadcasts it inside the building. That's a solution for in-building, and we provide that at no cost, including the install to anybody that needs that for FirstNet coverage inside buildings, hospitals, fire departments, PDs. In fact, we're going to give Rob Dennert one here in the next few weeks. He made that request yesterday, so we're working on getting that down inside the PSAP and the Westcom. We'd like to continue, or I would like to continue that program and give public safety a choice, either the HPUE or a Cell Booster Pro. So in turn, we would pay for both, whichever one you would want, up to a certain limit. And then we'll get that started as a test first, but then hopefully that, as a result of that test, if there's enough input and enough desire to use that device, then we could possibly get it paid for. Because remember, everything that we take in from FirstNet with AT&T for allowing AT&T to use the spectrum, some of the spectrum, is they pay us back. So we reinvest that money back into the network, and this is a way to do that. And you got to face the reality of if there is a fringe area, if you want a tower, it's going to take 2 years to get one. That's just the way it goes, and that's on a speed process. So in the meantime, there's other ways to do that, and this is one of those ways to solve a coverage problem. So that's what we'll be doing in the future here in the next couple months. Let's see here. I'm looking at my notes. I would love to be part of your, if you have a working group with your grant, I'd love to be a part of that. I can use the authority's influence on anything you need in regards to that project. So if you need help in any way, I can certainly help you with that. So if I could be a part of that, that would be super. Let's see here. With Kansas, as far as interoperability goes, I'm on a working group with Kansas to discuss the integration of LTE and LMR into the state and how you use that. So I just got off the call prior to this call, so I'm working on that. And Iowa was mentioned in that if we happen to be able to have to work with them across state lines. Tyler and I from AT&T are working with, we purchased a license for Critical Connect with Motorola to get a talk group for interop to test for, and DMAC is going to be rolling over their communications for operations and interoperability on FirstNet by use of some devices, SIATA devices and cell phones to do their communication. So they'll have operational talk groups and they'll have interop talk groups. So that's a way for them, inexpensive way to be interoperable and also do their daily operations on LTE network, integrating the LMR with the Critical Connect. So we got a talk group assigned to that through Scott and Dave and working with Tyler on that. I inspected our satellite Colt in Urbandale a couple days ago. I didn't really inspect it. I just have to verify that it's there for the contract purposes. So if you don't know, the satellite Colt is stationed in Urbandale and it's ready available for you at no cost. So that's my report. If I'll take any questions. We also I met with ICN last week. We're moving to continue to discuss the backup solution for judicial hospitals and HHS using FirstNet as that backup like they do the PSAPs. So that's a program that's starting as well. And that will be conveyed during our FPU visit with the governor on how we're moving forward with FirstNet and where we've been and how we're moving forward with it. So you should also be very proud of yourself for what you have. And if I can help you in any way with this new restructure from a historical perspective, don't be afraid to call me. I don't know if I remember a lot of stuff, but I was there quite a while, and I can maybe help you support whatever you need to do.
Great. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Are there any questions for Tom regarding FirstNet Authority?
Yeah, this is Pat. I've got one question for Tom.
But
Do I have to be an active FirstNet user to take advantage of in-building coverage opportunities?
Well, yes and no. If you have public safety that are on FirstNet that respond to the area that you're talking about that needs coverage, we can probably work through that. But they like to have, if you're going to put something in a building that you have to have some subscribers that are going to use it.
Right. I'm just looking at Clarinda because we had looked into that, but we would definitely, in that case, and I'm just using it as an example, we would have to have some form of in-building coverage because of the tower location. And I don't know that if in the future that couldn't spread through all of the Department of Corrections, but we could probably have an offline conversation about that.
Yes, we could. And we'll get Tyler involved. And I don't know if you have subscribers over there or not. I don't know if the Department of Corrections is on FirstNet. I don't know. Tyler would be able to answer that.
Right.
Yeah, I can. We do have subscribers at Fort Madison, but Patrick, I don't think we have any subscribership over there.
Right. I think it's something to look into because it would definitely be a benefit.
Yeah, Patrick, if you don't mind, let's get an offline conversation scheduled and we can see what we can do.
All right, thanks.
Are there any other questions for FirstNet Authority? All right, moving on to the AT&T update. Tyler.
Thanks, Michelle. My update is rather short. We had a new macrosite addition since last month. We finally were able to bring online our site that we've been working on in Greenfield. We had some product delays that have gotten pretty substantial over the last 6 months. So reworking that a little bit. So this is one of our major pocket fillings to really provide a statewide coverage solution to the state. So that is finally completed. They're doing some optimization over the next 14 days, but the site is online. So any feedback or operation within that area would be great. Obviously, I've done some drive tests, and I'll probably do some more after the optimization just to verify. But so that's a critical juncture for state departments as well. So we started those conversations as well. That's all I have to report.
Excellent. Thanks, Tyler. Appreciate the update. Any questions for AT&T? All right, that brings us to the CISA update. Chris Myers.
Thank you, Chair Bischoff. Appreciate the time today, and also congratulations to the board on your grant award. There was a question posed to me yesterday about whether or not a document would be available for reference. I should have an answer to that by close of business today, and I'll get in touch with that group again once I have that answer. So my report for this month will be focused on Cybersecurity Awareness Month. That is typically the month of October, and this is the 20th annual iteration of that. The topic for this year is Secure Our World, which focuses on online safety, education, action, and behavior change. And the behavior change is one of the most critical parts of cybersecurity, as people are often designated as the weakest link with any cybersecurity strategy. If you think about how ubiquitous and expansive and pervasive technology is in our society now, it's basically everywhere. I was looking through some online articles yesterday, and there was an article about a person lamenting about how the fact that people use GPS now to go 10 blocks when they used to memorize the route or look at an actual map. So if you start thinking about how we adjust our daily lives to the use of technology, it is everywhere, and that reliance is expanding each month. So within Cybersecurity Awareness Month in 2023, we have outlined some steps to keep your devices safe and secure because technology is not going away anytime soon. You see your standard actors there, strong passwords, and if you have a lot of passwords to manage, a good password manager is always a good thing to have as well. Multi-factor authentication, of course, you always want to make sure that people are accessing the things they're supposed to. And recognizing and reporting phishing. This is one that is getting more and more difficult with each passing year. If you think about the spam emails you used to receive, it used to be fairly obvious when you were getting one. The English would be broken, images would be missing, your name would possibly be wrong, things like that. But these phishing operations are getting more and more sophisticated with each passing week, it seems like. The ability for them to translate into English is also getting a lot better. So no longer can you just read the email and assume that bad grammar, misspellings, or anything like that are a sign of phishing. Software updates are also important. Please keep in mind that those software patches for your critical platforms are released fairly routinely, and please apply them whenever you can. With that being said, we're going to dovetail into another cybersecurity topic, which is a document we just released that covers the top 10 cybersecurity misconfigurations that are out there through agencies large and small. So on the next slide, you can see a copy of what the cover page looks like for that document. And this is a joint release with CISA and the National Security Agency. This document does go into fairly good detail about tactics, techniques, and procedures that threat actors use to exploit these types of misconfigurations. And it also outlines how there's been a trend of systemic weaknesses in organizations when it comes to cybersecurity, even for those that have been using technology for dozens of years and have a relatively mature cyber posture. There's always room for improvement, and this document does highlight that, along with the importance of thinking about how can you make your deployment of that technology secure by design in order to reduce the burden on your network defenders, which would be your IT staff and other people you trust with the management of that network. One of the more common misconfigurations is identity and access management. That's outlined on the next slide with the new document that has been released as well. This identity and access management document was released by CISA, the NSA, and also our enduring framework partners. This document basically goes into what identity and access management is and how developers and integrators can use this to define their existing tool set, whether that's buying new technology or further configuring what they already have. It talks about gaps that you may find within identity and access management and how you can also address challenges that pop up with this. So you may be asking, where does this come into play with public safety? One of the biggest things with identity and access management is making sure that only certain individuals that are supposed to have access to that data actually have access to it. So if you start thinking about your criminal justice information systems, all the personally identifiable information that goes through a hospital, a PSAP, or any other place where this type of contact with the public is had, there's a lot of information there that needs to be secure and accessed only by those that are authorized to access it. One strategy, of course, is multi-factor authentication for that access management, but this document also goes on to detail single sign-on, which can greatly streamline an organization's ability to access management and or control access management, and also work with their employees to make sure that they can stay efficient with their daily tasks. So both of these are out there. If you haven't gotten a copy of it yet, please let me know. I'll get a copy over to you as soon as I can. On the last slide, we have some regional news of note. Nothing in Region 7 this week, but I do want to point out a communications unit boot camp that is taking place from October 22nd through the 27th in Sacramento, Oklahoma. This is a unique delivery for us in that we are delivering several concurrent courses that include ComL, CompT, INCM, INTD, OXCOM, and the ICSL, followed by a one-day exercise. It's a very ambitious delivery, and it's being put on in partnership with several states and the Central States Communications Association. Those groups have kind of taken on this TikTok model of TA deliveries for this type of thing, where it seems like 1 year is going to be a communications unit boot camp, where all these courses are offered, followed by a one-day exercise. On the TOC side of things, you will be looking at the Central States Communications exercise, which is a very large exercise that typically takes place in the Joplin, Missouri area. If you have any interest in seeing this, I would highly encourage you to go, as especially that communications exercise is a very large gathering of communications professionals, lots of new technology, and it's just a sight to see. So with that being said, that's the update I have for this month. Chair Bischoff, I can go ahead and take any questions.
Great, thank you, Chris. Appreciate the update and the valuable information. Are there any questions for Chris? That brings us to old business. Is there any old business that isn't on the agenda that we need to attend to? Hearing none, moving on to new business. New Isicsb user approval. Chair Hess.
We have two applications in front of us today for approval. The City of Marion, Iowa, Level 2 application, and also the National Weather Service, a Level 2 application. So I will make a motion to approve those two user applications.
Fantastic. Is there a second?
Ness, second.
Okay, I heard Ness. Is there any conversation about these two users? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving both City of Marion and the National Weather Service indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of a 30-day comment on the 700 megahertz conventional channel update with discipline-specific encryption. Chair Updike, would you like to speak on this matter?
Thanks. So the Technology Committee, a couple months ago, I guess already, we'd already gone through and reviewed some of the comments from the previous 30-day comments. And we came back with what you see on the screen here. where in the naming part of this, we added dashes in there to be somewhat consistent with what's in the NIFOG handbook. We didn't change any of the frequency sets or anything, but we did add some additional technical information to this document, which includes receive and transmit NACs, statewide use talk group ID of 1, and then we also came up with the talk group ID for county use, where the C designates the county and the first 2 placeholders, I guess it'd be the second and third placeholder, identifies the county number. So I use Polk County as an example, 77. So talk group ID would be C77. And then the 4th placeholder, 0 through F, allows for 16 talk groups for that county. So if a county wants to use those frequencies with a separate talk group ID, they have flexibility to be able to do that, and they're not just relegated to one talk group statewide. And then we've also set aside 7IA TAC 6DE, 7DE as SLN 786. I can't remember the wording here, but additionally, the 7IA law 9DE is discipline specific for law. And so this is what you're going to be looking at and hopefully commenting on. Once again, if there's no further comments after that period, then we would seek board approval at the time to approve the document as is, and then we would come back with a request for board approval to license the 6 additional channels. So hopefully that explains it clear enough. We're looking for a motion to approve the 30-day comment period.
Great. Okay, I heard a motion. I believe it was Wooten. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Updike can second. Is there any further conversation regarding putting this out for a 30-day comment on the revised document?
And I'd like to add one other thing.
Sure.
All of the updates that Holly sent out, that was my fault. That wasn't hers. So I wanted to give her credit. So,
you're all good. Yep. No worries. All right, hearing none, and with the motion on the table, all those in favor of putting this document out for 30-day period signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to public comment. Is there any public comment? Any members of the public wishing to address the board?
Yes, Chairman Bischoff, this is Captain Pierce with UPS Communications. I do have something for everybody. The public comment is this is an update. DPS Communications last month was successful in securing ARPA funding for the selection and purchase of a CAD RMS system with a warrant management program. We have begun the specification development and selection process, which we anticipate will take about 6 months to complete. And we've been working with CISA and Johns Hopkins University to help us through the specification development. And we're going to be considering 3 vendors who are on state of Iowa master contracts and agreements. And those vendors that we're considering are Tyler CAD Systems, Motorola Spellman Flex, and Central Square CAD. Now we anticipate after the selection process, it'll take a year to 18 months to fully implement this system. So we're going to be heavily involved in getting this all taken care of over the next, I guess, several months to a year and a half. Does anybody have any questions or would like to know anything further? Okay.
Captain Pierce, thank you for sharing, and congratulations on receiving ARPA funds for it. That's exciting. Any other questions or comments regarding Captain Pierce's comments? Are there any other public members wishing to address the board?
Chair Bischoff,
Carrie,
I think,
yeah.
sorry, this is Bridget Edson. I think it should be noted, I believe that we had designated certain months to make a concerted effort to be in person. And I believe next month, November, was a board meeting that we were going to try to all be in person if possible.
That is correct.
So something of note.
Yep. Appreciate the reminder. Yes, November is an in-person meeting. So yes, the concerted effort should be made by all board members to be present at the meeting in Adele on next month. Are there any other further comments? I believe someone has their hand raised.
Michelle, Rob Dennert.
Thank you. I'm like, I can't see who you are. So thank you for identifying yourself. Go ahead, sir.
Is the floor open for comment?
Yes, it is.
I'd just like to announce or remind everyone that both the 700 and 800 megahertz regional planning committees are meeting this afternoon. Our fall meeting is always after the October board meeting at 1:30 this afternoon online. Details are out on the FCC site, or I can get those to you if somebody wants to join. I'd encourage attendance if you're interested.
I'm looking at the list.
Great. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate the announcement. Any additional public comment? Hearing none, that brings us to adjournment. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Broaddus.
Second?
Henson?
All those still here to say they approve?
Aye.
Aye. This meeting sits adjourned. Thank you all.